welcome to our Livestream Freedom International broadcast. And today we've got four podcasters. We've got Grace with Quantum Nurse, Hartman Schumacher, Going Your Own Path, Jane Markey. I probably didn't do it justice with the surname, Empowered Mind. And we're missing Chris, so we're sending some love to him because he's had a death in the family. Our guest today, I shall do a little reading for once in my life. Peter Stone, founder and CEO of the Sovereign Project, is an author, and a very good one at that.
Thank you.
And researcher covering all aspects of the corrupt global system and the law in relation to our true rights. Through the project, Pete's ambition is to help people empower themselves with the same knowledge and corruption, those who wish to be free to become an unstoppable force for world peace. And I mean, your book is amazing, but that's not why we're here. But I encourage people to read it.
Thank you.
We're basically covering your sovereignty, and there's so many aspects of it. And it's hard to kind of go, where do we start? Because there's a lot of people following this. They're following you, like I've had amazing views. So just to let people know, I've interviewed Peter on episode number 129 of the Awakening podcast. And I was able to put it on a YouTube channel, my own personal one, because I got kicked off on YouTube on the Awakening podcast, and it stayed up, which is good. And also on my BitChute channel, it's got fantastic views, but a lot of comments. People are actually loving what you're doing. And I suppose the main thing is, I suppose we better cover both aspects, those that are going to be hearing this for the first time, and the people. Obviously, we'll try and delve into stuff that will bring the people that are kind of halfway on the journey a few steps forward. So I suppose you might just tell us what your main project is, and let people kind of get into what you're about.
Sure, yeah, no problem. Yeah, the project is many different layers to the project, and there's sort of goals that I want to reach. The main goal of the Sovereign Project is to make people sovereign, to actually break their slave mentality so they're no longer a slave and they're not being told what to do anymore, and to become sovereign. And what that means is the ability to be responsible for your own life and to self-govern. So you can say, I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. I can do it myself. So the Sovereign Project is going to go over quite a few different layers. I've got some notes, so just in case some of it I can't remember myself, it's quite complex. Some of the areas that we go into on the Sovereign Project is we don't teach. I don't teach anybody anything, okay? And I don't want anyone to take advice from me, and I don't want any followers. So I want equals. So what I'm looking for is I will explain what I've found, what I've discovered, what I've learned myself, and I will then share it with people who want to know. Then you take this information, and if it's good for you, that's fine. But I don't tell people what to do. But what I do is I go through basically how contracts work, the basics. The average person out there has no knowledge of even how basic contract law works. Just look at the people that are terrified of mandates. And I'm looking around and I'm going, what are you worried about? Do you not understand how mandates work? Do you not understand that there has to be a contract first before the mandate applies to you? And loads of people don't understand that, so they're all panicking. So I go through that. We go through a lot of paperwork. We will dig a little bit deeper. I tend to talk about what marriage is. People don't understand how the financial system works. They don't understand what money is. They don't understand what marriage is. They don't understand about legal fictions and corporations. They don't understand that. They don't understand the plebiscite system that they are trapped in either. So I sort of talk about that, and we can discuss this throughout this podcast if you wish. But I start on that. Make it easy for people to understand. So the idea is to set them on the right path. They're going in the right direction, and then they won't fall into the wrong trap, because there's lots of other stuff out there on the internet. There's lots of other common law, if you like, and people are getting caught up in this, and they're getting caught up in UCC and postal mechanics and all this sort of stuff, and they're swamped and they don't understand what's going on, and then they end up in serious trouble because they don't know what they're doing. I make it simple. I put you on the right path. Once you understand what you're doing, you're free to go, and now you can go off and discover the truth for yourself. So that's what I do. That's what the Sovereign Project's all about.
Excellent. I suppose if we go back to the mandate, because that will probably cover every single country, because I know that, and we've only discussed it recently, Jane mentioned she had to wear a mask, I haven't been doing it, but I'm in Poland, everybody's doing it. And so unfortunately, the police are being brutal at times. They're coming up to people, giving fines. Unfortunately, in some places, they're slapping them across the head with a baton. What do you do when they're trying to push this on us?
Okay, we've got to learn about the police. This is something people don't understand. The police do not deal in law. Never have, never will. They actually deal in commerce. Commerce is trade between corporations. That's all they deal in, okay? There's two, when you look at the individual's dressed in a uniform, okay? He's a police, you might say police officer. He's also acting as a constable. The constable actually deals with law. A constable is actually responsible for his own actions. So there are two different job descriptions. So a constable deals with the law, which is protecting your rights and actual crimes. A police officer does not deal with that. He's dealing in commerce.
And just sorry to interrupt you there, with a constable, because I know that's a kind of UK thing. Is this apply around the world? Or are we talking specifically to kind of Commonwealth countries?
Correct. Yeah, the 42, I think it's 42 Commonwealth countries is the same. But you'll find that in every country where there is a police force or police officer, there is an oath behind it. That oath makes that individual liable for his actions. So I can't speak for every single police force because I haven't thoroughly investigated every single one, but I've investigated obviously the one in England. By the way, the UK, the word UK only refers to a corporation. It's not a country. So a lot of people say, no, I live in the UK. Well, if you live in the UK, you're living in a corporation. If you accept that, you are now under the jurisdiction of that corporation. And now you're going to get hit over the head by the policeman because you've entered into a contract. The policeman or woman, officer, cannot act against you at all unless you give consent. You have to enter into joinder with that officer before he can act. Now, it's very slight. It doesn't take much. It's not like he's going to offer you a contract and say, do you mind signing here? I'll sign there. Okay, we're in a contract. Now I can bash you over the head with a truncheon. No. What he's going to do is it's going to be quite simple. He's going to ask your name. Are you Mr. Smith? Yes, I'm Mr. Smith. That's it. You've now entered into a contract with the policeman. Now you've got to start answering his questions, and now you're in trouble. So what you've got to do is you've got to learn how to control these police. And the best way to do that is don't even consider them police. This is where people go wrong right from day one. They see someone in a uniform with a police badge, and they automatically assume, oh, he must be a police officer. Don't do that. Just consider him a stranger at that point. Don't assume anything. By the way, that's how the government, or should I say the people behind government doesn't exist, it's a legal fiction, but the people behind government operate under your assumption. So if you carry on assuming stuff, they will carry on acting against you. So don't assume that the person who's come up to you in a uniform is the policeman. He could be a male stripper for all you know. Don't assume anything. So he walks up. The very first thing is, who are you? Don't say officer or nothing like that. I'm not even going to acknowledge he's an officer. Who are you? You've walked up to this conversation. Who are you? If he says, oh, I'm a police officer. Oh, right, okay then. Right. I need you to formally identify yourself. Name, rank, PC number, and give me your warrant card then. You don't go any further. You don't answer any questions at that point. He gives you your warrant card. Fantastic. Thank you very much. And then you say, okay, are you actually working under your constable's oath today? You've got him. He's got to answer. If you ask 3 times and he does not respond, you can answer for him and say, right, I don't believe you're working under your oath. That means you're not a constable. That means you're not a policeman. That means you're actually impersonating a police officer, which is 7 years imprisonment. So I'll say, leave me alone. I'm going to call the real police and I'm going to put in a complaint. You are breaking the law. So you just got to control the situation. Too many people are folding right at the beginning. The policeman comes up. Who are you? I want your name. I want your driver's license. You end up doing all this. You're being told what to do. You're doing it. You've entered into joinder now. He has authority over you. That's all they need. But if you don't enter into joinder, they can't touch you. If they do touch you, it's unlawful. I'm going to place them under arrest now. Film everything. All right. If someone walks up to you, you don't know. All right, let's get the camera on. Okay, I'm recording this. We've got the tools. Use it. Use your mobile phone. Record everything. This will become your affidavit. This will become your witness. One of the things that the Sovereign Project wants to do is, if I can get funding, is I want to create an app. So the idea is if someone from the the government department, a policeman, social services, or whatever, fake bailiffs, whatever, comes to you, you'll be able to switch the app on and it will live stream. And then all the other sovereign members, the fraternity members, will be able to jump in on that call, and they will be creating your remedy while you're recording it. Beautiful. And you'll say, oh, I've got 10,000 people watching this, officer. Do you want to carry on down this line of questioning? So, yes, police do not deal in law, only commerce.
Okay. And I mean, we've all, because I've seen loads of videos, I've seen people doing it right and some people kind of faltering. I've seen some others, they look like they've done it right, but you've got a psychopathic police officer who then gets abusive and everything. If assuming the fact that they chuck you into the paddy wagon or the police car, as we, someone would know it as, what's your next steps? What should you do if you're brought to the police station?
Right. Okay. You're in deep now. As long as you haven't entered into joinder, as long as you've not answered any questions, everything that's now happening to you is unlawful, all of it. So what you need to do is start giving notice. So the police officer who's acting unlawfully against you, serving verbal notice. I hereby give you notice that you are kidnapping me. I charge £10,000 an hour, minimum. And then you say nothing. Okay, you get dragged off. You go to you say nothing. Do not say a word. You can carry on saying I'm held against my will, I am being kidnapped. You can say stuff like that, but don't say anything. Well, hopefully you won't be alone. So if you're going to get pulled off, hopefully you've got friends with you that's going to follow the police van to the police station. They're going to be witnesses. Hopefully you're not alone and you've got friends also video recording it. You might have to spend 24 hours in the cell. All right, but they will give you every opportunity. They'll come into the cell and say, oh, if you just sign this document, we'll let you go now. They'll make it difficult. Another thing as well is you might not have to take food or water. This is how they work. These people are vile. Because if they say, do you want water or food, and you say yes, you've entered into joinder with them. You can't trust these people. When I learn how the system works, it's disgusting. These people are absolute criminals. They're fraudulent. But yeah, so you might have to say nothing. Okay, but hopefully you've got your friends involved. Then you're going to have to start suing these people. So you don't sue the police. The police is a legal fiction. You're going to sue the officer by name. So you're going to find out where he lives, and then you're going to sue him, and you're going to serve notice. And you're going to take his house and his car. You're going to hit him with a 99-year lien because you acted unlawfully against me. You kidnapped me. It's £10,000 an hour. I was held for 24 hours against my will. It's £240,000. How do you want to pay it? And it's interest. Every day that goes by, there's interest on top. People have got to take back their rights. This is how you do it. You stand your ground. You got to be. By the way, I'm not saying this is easy. It's not. It's not. Okay. When you're standing your ground, I've done it loads of times. When you're standing your ground, your heart's going. I get it. You think, oh, this is going to end up bad. I get it. It's not easy. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. I would not suggest to the average person out there to take on a police officer straight away. Take on traffic warden or something like that. That's easy. So, just have small goals, okay? And don't get yourself into a situation where you're going to be with police officers as well. Don't even do that at this point. It's not worth the risk. If you're not ready, if you don't know how to handle yourself, just don't get into that situation. But yeah, if you get carted away and you have not entered into joinder, then it's unlawful. And it's every officer. You can serve notice on them more. If it's 4 of them, each of them is liable. That's 240,000 a pop. There's your million. When people start,
have you ever seen anybody? Have you ever seen anybody actually getting some finance from so-called police officer when he's abused his power and not acted as a constable?
I saw there was a guy in America did it to an entire police station. The bailiffs went in and seized the entire police station, put stickers on the computer, everything, because the guy knew what he was doing. He did his paperwork correctly, and they seized the Panda cars and everything. All the police cars were seized, and then the police station had to pay up to get all their equipment right. But yes, now the problem we have is the court system is completely corrupt. The court system is not a court of law in any way, shape, or form. It's corporate. It is a corporation. They're actually acting as trusts. We can get into that if you wish to know that. but they're corporate, just the same as McDonald's and Burger King and all the rest of it. In fact, England, UK, all that, they're all corporations. America, they're all corporations. They've got no authority unless you enter into a contract with them. So all these courts, yes, they are not dealing in law and they are completely corrupt. The problem we might have is trying to get our paperwork processed, especially when it comes to affidavits, okay? You could do the notices, that's easy. You can sue someone from your own desk, which is what I do. Suing someone using your own paperwork, you don't use their forms, you use notices, that sort of stuff. When you move into the affidavits and you want to file it with the court system, you might end up having problems. That's where the numbers come in. This is where Sovereign Project comes in. I'm on record as saying that Sovereign Project is Fight Club. We've all seen that film, Fight Club. We're not going to act on this information. We're just discussing it. We're just talking about it. We're just talking about DVLA and our number plates. We're just talking about the council tax and how it's corrupt. But when the numbers are there, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, and we all get our paperwork and hand it into the courts, there's no stopping it then. The courts are going to be swamped. It's game over. So it is a numbers game. An individual trying this, it's difficult. Hence the Sovereign Project.
And like with registration as well, I heard that when you register something that you should only record it. You might kind of delve into that a bit as well, because I don't think people are aware.
Registration, right? Okay, this is something that people are going to have to wake up to. It's quite serious. You've all heard Klaus Schwab say you will own nothing and you'll be happy. He's right. No one owns anything now, and people don't understand it. They don't understand contract law, and they don't understand that they've entered into a contract, and they don't understand they've given away all their property rights. They're unlawful contracts, okay, and they're all with corporations which don't exist and don't have rights, so don't panic. Everyone's panicking. They are bogus contracts, but you've done it nonetheless. So registering, if you register, you are handing over ownership. So that's what's happening. So the easiest one to understand would be in this country, within the UK corporation, you have an agency called DVLA, okay? And every car is registered to that corporation, DVLA. It's operating as a trust, but we'll just keep it simple. What's happening is you are handing over the property rights of your car to DVLA. So DVLA now own the property rights. You have the user rights, but not the ownership. The DVLA now issues a license plate. This is the thing, is the government's telling you what they're doing. It's just the average person is illiterate. They don't listen to the words. They don't understand the words. But you're issued with a license plate, and that straight away should ring alarm bells. You go, hang on a minute, what do you mean license plate? License means asking for permission. That's what it means. So if I have a license, it means I've asked someone else permission to use their rights. So you go, hang on a minute, why do I need a license plate? So what's going on? DVLA will issue a license plate. That is a government number. That is now affixed to your car. They own it. Now you are liable. You are liable for everything within the DVLA policies. You are now liable for the highway code. Here's another thing. There are no road laws, nor will there ever be. The police fake it. They get you to proclaim the law. We'll touch on that in a bit. But anyway, the DVLA. So what happens is you put your license plate on there. Then you have to pay tax. You're not paying tax on your car. You're paying tax on the license plate. So the tax only applies to the license plate. And now you're liable for all the speeding tickets and the whole lot. And if you don't do as you're told and you don't pay the tax, they can come along and seize the property because they already own it. You are using government property. And here's the thing. If you've got government property that is now licensed, guess what you also now need? A driver's license. So now you've got to get a driver's license to drive government property. So yes, if you actually just deregister your car, take it back and say, no, thank you, I no longer require that service. By the way, it's completely voluntary. They can't force you on this. You take it back, you remove the license plates, then you don't need a license anymore and the driver's license, and you're not liable for the tax, and all the highway codes don't apply to you anymore, and you should be left alone. And if you are pulled over, you can sue the policeman because he's unlawfully and illegally pulled you over, and say, right, I'm suing you for stopping me because I had the right to travel and you just stopped that and you just violated that. But yeah, everything that you've registered, your house, your business, your children, your car, anything that you've registered with the government agency, you've handed over ownership. It's like your kids. If you put kids in a public school, here's another thing. People think public means public. No, it doesn't. Public means private. So the average person, if you say, do you know what public means? You go, oh yeah, public park. You know, we'll go out on a picnic and we all share the park together. No, that's common law public, not state public. State public means private. So what you're actually doing is you are now entering into a private jurisdiction that they call public. You are now a member of the public. It gives they're giving you a clue. Membership. You are a member of the public. So you sign up, and again, you fill out the forms. You never fill out forms from the government, people. But that's what you do. You go to a public school, and then you fill out the forms, and you put your kids in there, and then you don't understand why you get fined when you take your kids out of school and go on holiday. You go, what's going on? How can I receive fines? They're my kids. No, you handed them over to the public school. They're in a private jurisdiction owned by the state. You have no rights. Okay, very, very dangerous thing to do, because if you do that, social services can get involved. They can force medical procedures on your children without your say so. You have no rights at that point. You can send notices all day long and they will ignore it. So yes, registering means handing over ownership.
Oh, excellent. Listen, Peter, I'd love to stay on longer, but I don't want to hog the stage. Thank you very much, and I'll pass you over to Grace.
Oh, hello. Hello, Sovereign Pete.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So I'll go straight to finances.
Sure.
From what I had studied and understand about the common law is that when we were born, there's already a trust that's created.
Yes.
So, and then I've heard, a friend of mine, but I didn't get really a direct answer. So she said she was able to trace hers. So okay. I guess for those of us who want to trace that, where do we begin?
Oh, you've asked the holy grail of common law. Right. Well, it starts with your birth certificate, and the one that you will have in your possession will not be yours. It will be a copy, and it will probably be copyrighted. You'll see on it, it'll say Crown copyright, so it's not even yours at all. And some people have a birth certificate. It's not even a birth certificate. It's a docket that reference a birth certificate, which you might have to track. Now, the birth certificate you might get your hands on is not your live birth. It will be, the only one you could probably get your hands on will be the birth of your corporation. So I better take a step back and explain how it all works in layman's terms.
And Pete, not to interrupt, but this all applies to the whole global situation, right?
Absolutely. Every country. If you were born in a state hospital and your parents signed some forms within that state hospital and there was a birth certificate, you are part of the trust, which is called the CESTI trust. If anyone's listening, go and look that up, okay? CESTI trust. All right, so you can find it. This is evolved over 2,000 years. Okay, there's no definite. People want easy answers. There's no easy answers on this. So, but I will talk in layman's terms just so you can comprehend what's going on. Does everyone understand how a trust operates before we go further? Do you want me to touch on that very quickly?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So to understand how this trust, you've got to understand trust law, or what a basic. There's over 100 different types of trust. So I'm going to just, again, basic stuff. Try and think of credit and debt. Okay, so whenever credit is created, there's always a debtor. The two are always there. You creditor, you'll have a debtor. If someone's in debt, you'll have a creditor. They both exist at the same time. Okay. Now, in normal trade, that's easy to understand. I can pay you to work for me. You do the work, and I will be in debt to you until you've completed the work. I have to pay you, and then I will pay you. It's very simple to understand. Now, in a trust, is like this contract, okay, with you've got a creditor and a debtor, but it's a three-way contract. You've got someone at the top called the administrator or trustee who controls this contract. So you'll have one person who's the creditor and one person who's the debtor of this contract, but you've got someone at the top who controls it. So you've got someone at the top who then basically creates the credit on your behalf. And then someone else will be the debtor. So just think of it like a triangle. The way the entire monetary system is operated on is on this trust of credit. I think most of us now understand about fiat currency. We understand that it's a debt-based monetary system. So you think, well, okay, there's a lot of debt in this world, and there's some like, I don't know, 1.5, 2.7 quadrillion in debt. So you go, well, who's the creditor for all this debt? And that would be the people. So every person who's got a birth certificate, that equal amount of debt, well, actually, there's more debt than credit because it's interest. The interest is on top. It's a Ponzi scheme. So you've got the debt, but you've got sort of like an equal amount of credit that's been created using your birth certificate. There's interest on top of that debt. That's why it's got to reset in this decade. So what happens is when you were born, your parents don't understand any of this. They fill out the forms and all the rest of it. But what they're doing is putting you, when you were born, they're putting you into the trust. They've handed over ownership. So now the Vatican owns you. So the Vatican then creates a live certificate of birth in your name. That's a live one. You'll never see that. That's underneath the Vatican, locked away. I don't think anyone's ever got their hands on that. I think that's the Holy Grail. That's not going to happen. There's people out there trying to do that, but that's a multi-year task. It's not like, oh, I'll just apply to the Vatican. I'll fill this out. Hey, Vatican, can I have my live certificate back? Okie dokie, here it is. Oh, thank you very much, Vatican. Here's the thing. If you actually got your live certificate of birth, you will have the ability to create infinite credit. Meaning, also, the Vatican will be on the hook as they're the debtors. They're the one who set the trust up. They set the trust up, you see. So what they do is they take your live certificate of birth. They use that to create credit. They are now the debtors. They don't want to be the debtors. They don't want to pay all this back. So what they do is they get this debt and they give it to, layman's terms, they give it to governments. It's up to the governments to get rid of this debt. So then what they do is the government ends up tricking you into paying back your own credit. So this credit is created, pays for, in your name, pays for the roads, electricity, gas, you name it, your car insurance, everything is paid for using the credit from your live birth certificate. The Treasury is on the hook to pay it back. They don't want to pay that back. So then they get brokers like electric companies, gas companies. They are brokers. They don't sell anything. What they're doing is they're tricking you into paying back your own credit. And then they give that money back to the Treasury. Now, going back to your birth certificate thing, the birth certificate that you'll probably have in your possession is the certificate of your legal fiction. This is a corporation in your name. It's a dead entity, doesn't exist. It's owned by the Vatican. That corporation has become the debtor. You are now tricked into becoming the debtor to pay back your own credit. Some people have got control of this. You can do it through, you can bankrupt it. So that's another thing. You can do a hostile takeover. Just treat it like a corporation. Other ones, you can become a secured party creditor. You can turn it into a limited company. But you have to be careful. If you turn it into a limited company and you're still under the jurisdiction of the UK, then they can still get into your trust. So, yeah, so be careful of that one. I think that one's quite difficult. You've got to create your own country first, and then you do a limited company. This is a minefield now. This is not easy. This is the Holy Grail. You have to know your stuff at this point. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. I have a good understanding, but even I think, do I want to go on this journey myself? And I'm going, I don't know, because that's a lot of work. That's months and years of trolling through paperwork. You have to become a private detective. So you'll have, and there's no two people, it's the same remedy. So you have to start with your birth certificate. What hospital were you born in? What country were you born in? It's going to be different. They're going to be different agencies. You're going to have to contact them. You're going to have to trace it all the way back. Not easy, but
I guess it's a lifetime journey. And at this moment, each of us will kind of have make a decision of where we put our energy.
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I totally agree. You could spend hours, years, weeks, or whatever on trying to get hold of your trust fund, but don't forget it's in fiat, and they're resetting the fiat. So the trust fund, if you get hold of it in a few, say 10 years time, it's not going to be worth anything. So you probably put all these years in, you'll finally get hold of it, and it's worth £2.50. It'll buy you a cup of coffee. So I tend to put people off that and say, look, if you want to go on that journey, go on that journey. The Sovereign project is much simpler. We're just going to step out the system. We're not going to be part of it anymore. We're not going to play this game anymore. We're not playing the fiat system anymore. We're going to go back to using gold and silver. We're going to be in the private. We'll have our own economy. Okay, so that's the easier solution. But yes, the birth certificate, that's the holy grail. There are people doing it. I think Peter Wilson is a friend of mine. I think he's going to take it on. So he's got a YouTube channel. Follow him. He's been training for years just for that.
Okay. Thank you, Pete. Sovereign Pete, let me just share you now one of the questions of the viewers. He said, what should we do first about unearthing all of this? Since you mentioned already about the Sovereign project.
Yes, I would make it simple. You've got to get the average person in on this, if you like. But you're dealing with people who don't even know what money is. They don't know the difference between lawful and legal. They literally know nothing. This is the reason I wrote my book, because that's my first book. I'm working on another one. Because I thought, okay, can I do a book on the system, the upper level? And I thought, if I do that, no one's going to understand it. It'll be gibberish. They won't trusts and all, CESTI, they'll look at it and go, no, that's gibberish, don't get it. So I had to write a book that is like, explains the basics. So now you're ready to take on what is really behind the system. It's like, do you know what fiat currency is? Do you know what quantitative easing is? Do you know what fractional reserve banking is? Do you know what money should be? All these things. So do you know what a Ponzi scheme is? I was getting frustrated. I started talking with people, 10 years ago, and I was discussing them about this, and I was going, this fiat currency is a Ponzi scheme. And they go, what's fiat currency? What's a Ponzi scheme? And I went, oh, jeez. All right, let's go back to talking about the weather and football then, shall we? So I thought, I'll write a book. That's easy. You get through it and you go, right, now I'm up to date. Now you're ready for the big stuff.
Okay.
So try and wake people up to the money. That's where I'll probably begin. Okay. There's a great reset coming. It's a financial and social reset that's coming in this decade. They are going to take everything. And when Klaus Schwab says you'll own nothing and you'll be happy, they're actually going after the property. They've got the property rights. They want to go after the user rights. That's what they want. Because people haven't given that over yet. Okay. That's when they nationalize everything. That's when the state owns the property and the user rights of your car, of your house, of your children. Think communism. No one owned anything. So that's what they're going to do in this decade. And they're going to do it because everyone is so loaded up on debt. And when interest rates go parabolic, 20, 30%, no one's going to be able to make the payments. And then the banks are going to come in and say, well, okay, we're going to take your assets. So we'll take your car, we'll take your house. You won't own them, but we'll let you live there as a tenant. And now, but by the way, to do that, you're going to have to sign up to this social credit system and make sure you've had the medical procedure. Yeah, and it'll be a crypto system as well at that point. So you'll have to use a government cryptocurrency, which has a time limit on it and also has limitations on how and where you can spend it. You'll only be able to spend it on Amazon, on certain things, on certain days. What they've got planned doesn't bear thinking about.
And let me share another question from the audience, because he mentioned about crypto. He said, how does the crypto fit into the scheme?
Right, crypto. Full disclosure, I do own a little bit of Bitcoin and some other crypto. So I think it's a good idea to have some and ride the wave. Okay, because I think Bitcoin and some other cryptos are going to go higher. But I don't like, none of these cryptos are money. None. There's a lot of people out there saying, oh, cryptos are the new money. No, they're not. The thing with money, you've got to understand the basic fundamentals or foundation of money is very simple to understand. It's got to have two parts. One part, it has to have someone's labor. The other part is an intrinsic value, something with intrinsic value, a commodity of physical real value. For example, a gold coin. That meant that someone had to work hard, dig the gold out of the ground, melt it down, turn it into a coin. There's the labor. The gold itself is the intrinsic value. Okay. Now, here's another key part to true money. There is never any third party, because when you trade, you are exchanging one item for another, like this phone for this pen. You're just exchanging it. A simple trade. That's how money works. Here you go. I've got a silver coin. This might explain it. Silver coin. That's pretty handy. That is money. No third party. So I might sell this, and the one who wants to buy it is going to exchange it. There's no one else in this trade. There's no triangle. There's no third party at the top trying to get a slice of the action. True money. All cryptos, all of them require a third party. You need electricity, you need internet, you need a device, and then the network itself will take some commission, because you'll have like Bitcoin miners and all the rest of it, you see. So I look at crypto as a service. Good one. Some of them are very handy to have, because if you want to buy something in another country without trust, there's no trust, you can use a crypto. That's a very handy tool to have. I'm not saying it's bad. But I think there's when I wrote my book, I think there was like 6,500 cryptocurrencies. And I think there's over 13,000 now. And that's the problem, is as more and more people create more and more cryptos, it dilutes the market. So more and more people end up buying more cryptos. So it's again, Ponzi scheme. You know, there's no cap. There is a cap with this. Get silver, because there's only a certain amount of silver. There's a cap with gold. There's only a certain amount of gold. That's it. And if you're sort of religious, God's money is supposed to be gold. So, you know, but yes, crypto.
Thank you, Pete, for everything that you're doing is really truly crucial, and we here in our group believe that that's what is most important. And in New Jersey, we have meetings online also with local people who understand about common law. And then one of the advice really is to have to start purchasing silver coins or silver bars, even more than gold. Okay, so thanks a lot, and I'm gonna pass it on first to next to Hartmut.
Hi, Peter.
Hi.
Very interesting topic, because here in Germany we deal with this topic for a long time, and we try to do it as the Third Reich, but not this. And I know several people, two people who did this. They said, okay, I'm not part anymore of the system. I'm of the Weimar Republic. And the problem what they are facing is, in that moment they are complete out of the system. They don't get any pension funds anymore. They don't get any money when they lose their job. They have no possibility to go in hospitals anymore and get paid and all that stuff. And this is and the problem is, if you go this hard way, then you go really away completely alone. Maybe you are not allowed to use the streets anymore. This is the problem. So they did it this way, that we in Germany, we have Vereine, clubs, and we have our law for the clubs is older than the law what we have right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't know whether you have in UK an act regulating club and association. And I don't know if you have an act regulating clubs, or for clubs and regulation. If you have such a law for this kind of clubs, then you can become a representative of the club, mm-hmm. and you can participate within the system as a representative of the club, but you are not the man on the passport.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a way people try to do it here. So that, for example, if they sit in the front of the court, they say, "Well, the man on the passport, that's not me, but I am the representative of the club." And please judge, to whom are you talking? Are you talking to me as representative, or are you talking to me as the passport owner? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you have any similarity in the UK, that you have a club law where the let's say the representative of a club have specific rights?
Okay, I think I hear what you're going on. Now, here's the thing. When I know a lot of people are using this common law, I think this is where a lot of people go a little bit astray. Okay, they go looking for it. That's a mistake. You will not find common law if you go looking for it. Okay, common law is from within. I make the law. That's how it works. That's what sovereign means. When you are sovereign, you have this. I mean, you've got to talk about rights. So let me just touch on this as well. A lot of people think rights are just rights. I go, no, 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 no. It's a package deal. So rights is part of a package deal that you get when you become sovereign, which is when you reach the age of consent. And that means that you have your authority, you have your court, you make the law, you have your jurisdiction, and it's your freedom. So when you understand that, I will never go looking for a law that gives me permission to do something, because the very first question I ask is, whose law is it? So here's a little trick.
Let's see.
If someone brings a piece of paper to me and they say, this is the law, the next question I ask is, who wrote it? Who wrote it? Because guess what? It's not law. It's someone else's policy. That's all it is. This is the biggest scam that these politicians and these governments, or the people behind governments, that's what they're doing. So they give me this piece of paper and say, I've got some common law here, got it off the internet. Let me have a look. And I go, who wrote this? That's their policy. It's meaningless. It means nothing to me. It only applies to me if I put my signature onto it. If I sign the policy and someone else also signs the policy, then it becomes law for me and the other person. Okay? So if I'm going to open a private club, I'm just going to open a private club. End of. I don't go looking for some magical form or magical law or anything like that. I will just open a PMA, which is a private members association. You don't need any regulations. You don't have to look it up. There's no paperwork that you need apart from your paperwork. You will do your paperwork. So you want to do, set up a club. It could be a coffee shop. Set it up as a PMA. So you lay out your policy. You'll lay out your constitution. And here's another thing. Where have you heard the Constitution before? Oh, America. Yeah, that's one giant PMA. People have no clue how this works. The United States of America is a corporation acting as a PMA. It's a private club. If you accept the title American citizen, then you are now under the jurisdiction of that Constitution of that PMA. You're under a private jurisdiction. So anyway, so if you want to open your own business, you just write out your Constitution. In my court, in my jurisdiction, using my law. It's a PMA, it's a private members association, right? And I offer it to anybody. And then if a customer comes along and says, oh, I'll have some of that. Okay, you sign there, I sign there. Thank you very much. There's your membership card. Now you're part of my PMA. Now I've got a customer. So say you've got 10,000 customers all operating, and then the police come knocking on your door saying you've got no, you haven't got regulations, you haven't got all the paperwork. You go, hang on a minute. It's my PMA. Is your name down on this? No, it isn't. Is there a contract between me and you, constable, saying I have to follow your policy? No, I don't think there is. So you're trying to impose a contract onto me that doesn't exist. That's a tort. And that's very close to criminal action. Because the way it goes, you've got civil, you've got tort, you've got criminal. Civil, meaning contract, okay, means a dispute between two people where a contract already exists. That's a civil dispute. That's a civil act, civil matter. Then you've got tort. Tort is more serious than civil. Tort is a tortuous act, which means someone is trying to impose a contract onto you where one doesn't exist, or they've violated your rights. Now we're getting serious. If I can prove intent, that you intended to impose a contract onto me that didn't exist, we're now going into the criminal. Now you're going to go to jail. So people have got to know this stuff, okay? Knowing law is not difficult. Knowing law is not trying to memorize thousands of bits of legislation. So in the UK corporation, in their legal system, which by the way, I am not part of that jurisdiction, in that legal system, there's something like 32 million bits of legislation. Do I want to try and memorize all that? No. In America, the American corporation, there's 50 million pieces of legislation. You will not live long enough trying to read them all. Don't even play the game. Just say it doesn't apply to me, and life gets much more simple. People have got to learn that they make the law. Stand in your own 2 feet. Stand in your power. I make the law. I write it down. You're in my jurisdiction now. So that's how it works. But let me just touch on a few things. You mentioned passport. You're absolutely correct. The passport is not you. It never was. Your passport, you'll notice, is written in all caps. Your name is in all caps. That's not even English. That's some sort of dog Latin ASL or something like that. That's making reference to your corporation. All you are, by the way, is a postman. It's not you that's traveling, it's the passport. So you're a postman, acting as a postman with this passport. The word passport means pass from port to port. And then you're carrying this piece of mail, which is making reference to your corporation. Then you get to another country, and what do? Get the stamp out, stamp it. That means you're now entering into a different jurisdiction. People think it's them. No, passport's not you. You don't need it. You don't need it. So, but yes, the passport's not you. So we'll touch on, you mentioned pensions and if
pension funds, for example.
Yeah.
The tax department can close the banking system, can close can block the account. All these things can happen if you say stop, and then in Germany. So I was told, then there is a probability that you are kicked out of the complete system, that you don't also have any account anymore. And for this reason, they established foundations in other countries with a bank, with an account, and in the foundation they established a company so that they could work over the company, so that they can make business with normal people.
Correct. Yes, that's right. There's 2 ways of doing this. You can go full private and just turn your back on the whole thing. A lot of people have done that. Or you can take control of your birth certificate, the dead entity, the legal fiction, and treat it as a corporation. So your name, or your last name in all caps. By the way, your surname's not yours. So the surname is owned by the Vatican. The word idiot means the person who does not know their name. So if you go into court and they call you by your surname, Mr. Smith, and you go, yes, the court will treat you as an idiot because the court knows that's not your name. You might notice the very people at the very top of this pyramid don't have last names. The Queen of England does not have a surname. She's from the House of Windsor. So the Rothschilds don't have a surname. They have like Gareth D. Rothschild. The D means that is not a surname anymore. It's a family name or a house name. Another one is in Germany. You probably know this. Germany, if you've got von in the middle of your name, von means that's not a surname. So, Hans von Bergen or whatever. Bergen is either a place or a house, not a surname, because the von says it's not a surname. So, yeah, the passport is not you. So you can get this corporation. You can become a secured party creditor, and you own that corporation, and you can treat it as a corporation. You can run it as a corporation and still live in the private, and you can put everything into that if you wish. Also, what you can do is, I've just made some notes here. I was just going through it all. Yeah, you could do that. Pensions. Oh, yeah, I want to touch on the pensions as well and all this sort of stuff. There is going to be no pensions. A lot of people are clinging on to this. Oh, if I step out of the system, I won't get my pension. Can't news for you. In this decade, there's not going to be any pensions. It's gone. I was warning people over a decade ago. This is why I wrote the book. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I thought, there is going to be no pensions, private or state. They're gone. The private ones are actually running. The last time we looked at the debt market, the debt market, I think it was 30 trillion was operating with a negative yield, which means negative interest rates. That's the debt market. Every single pension is basically you've bought debt and you're hoping that that debt will be paid off and then you'll get your pension. It ain't going to happen. I've got a private pension. It's worthless. I've been paying into it since I was 21. And now when I researched the pension system, I went, oh my God, this is a scam. People now paying into private pension companies are actually paying the people who are retired today. That's all that's happening. Okay. State pension, have a look at the unfunded liabilities of your country. Okay. In UK corporation, it's 9 trillion. That's unfunded liabilities. That's essentially the pensions. So what this is pensions that have been promised to the elderly, 9 trillion. In America, 220 trillion unfunded liabilities. There's no money. So there's no pensions. Sorry for the bad news. You've got to prepare now. This is why I've got gold and silver. Wages as well. Oh my God, where do I begin with that? In a free market, it doesn't matter if you lose your job for a few weeks or a few months, because you'll have a big load of savings to live off. That's the way I live my life, by the way. I've never taken any benefits or anything. I had a back injury 10 years ago and I couldn't work for 2 years. I didn't claim anything. I just lived on my savings because I was saving. I would just save just in case something bad happens. You don't know. That's what sovereign means. You're responsible for your own life. So if something bad happens and you lose your job for whatever reason, I go, okay, I've got my savings. I'll live off that for a couple of years, which is what I did. And then I got back to work and filled the hole in, and the savings filled it back up again. So people have got to be responsible for themselves. Pensions is a scam. People should not be paying into companies or corporations for their own future. Do you think these corporations care about your future? No. In fact, a lot of these pension companies don't want you to live past 65. And here's the thing. This is the truth behind what's going on now. So we say that the medical situation that's going on in the world today is to do with the fact there's no money to pay pensions and there's no money to pay benefits. You are a liability to the government at that stage. They don't want you alive. They want your trust fund, because when you die, they can gain access to the trust fund, which is worth a couple of million. That's what they want. People think that this whole medical thing is being pushed by the pharmaceutical companies. No, it's not. They're only dealing in hundreds of billions. That's chicken feed. That is loose change that you find in the back pocket of your jeans. The people truly behind this have gone past the billions. They've gone past the trillions. They operate in the quadrillions, just to give you an idea. Okay. So yeah, people are way off base when they say, oh, it's the pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, they're just an agent. They're a bit part player in this. They're going to make some money. Whoop-de-doo. They're not behind it. But yeah, so there's no pensions, no wages. Hospitals. I would not be using state hospitals anymore. Right. Now I researched state hospitals. I researched cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and realized they were curable because I found out what caused them. You need to look up MLC5 that's found in a certain medical procedure. Just have a look at it. Look up Rachel Seller. So that's someone you should get on as a guest. When I discovered that and the link to all the E numbers that are in supermarket food, it's like, oh my God, no wonder everyone's dying of cancer. Yeah. But yeah, you do not want to trust state hospitals. State-controlled medical doctors are completely dangerous. You want to steer away from them at all costs. But hospitals, this is another thing. People think hospitals are there for your health. I mean, this is what I don't understand. Look, I mean, the government set up hospitals because they want you to live a long time. No. The state want to take control of the hospitals so they can make you sick and make money off you while you are sick. And they want to get control of your birth certificate. That's where it's created. Have you ever wondered why in a hospital it's called a ward? And it's the same in the prison. You have wards in prisons, you have wards in hospitals. What you're doing is you're handing over your authority to the people who run that hospital. You are awarding your authority to them. You might have noticed what's going on in this country. You've got mothers who can no longer see their babies. They're just giving birth and then they can't get into the hospital. And you go, what's going on? In Leicester, we helped a mother who went sort of a little viral. So 15 of the people that I know went to the hospital and dealt with that. But here's the thing: is that mother did not know what she was getting into. She filled the forms in. You handed your child over to a government agency. You consented. That's why these doctors and nurses can then tell you what to do, because you are in contract with them. So yeah, I would not be trusting state hospitals. I would go holistic. deregister from your GP. I could talk for hours on that, but I mean, I was really ill 5 years ago, and that's when I went down my research switched from law, and I switched into nutrition and health, and my God, did I learn stuff. And it was, when I learned it, I was like, oh my God, what are these people in hospitals been doing? What have they been doing for decades? I'm telling you that there is a rage building on this planet, a rage. And when people wake up to the truth and they realize what really is going on, and it unleashes, I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be way out of that. But when it happens, my God, these people are going to be angry. But the streets, you mentioned the streets. No one can stop you traveling the streets. That can't happen. The streets are common land. No person can stop you doing that. That would be a violation. That's unlawful. Let's touch on the traffic laws. There's no such thing as road laws. They don't exist. Never do. Never have. The police know that. They can't enforce it. The reason being because all roads are common to all. That means if I stand on that road and you stand on that road, you cannot enforce your policy onto me. That would be unlawful. The police can't do that. They know that. So when you get pulled over and you get the ticket, it's a contract. They're saying, would you like to pay me 60 quid for speeding? And you go, okay, then. You sign and date it. At that point, you've proclaimed the law. Now you're contracted. Now you pay your fine. So no one can stop you. If you've got number plates on, don't make it difficult. You take the number plates off and say, look, this is a private automobile. Auto means autonomy. My authority, mobile, it's mine, get off. They can't touch you. So yeah, the banks, I want to touch on that. You don't own your bank account. It's not yours. People don't understand this. That bank account is not yours. You are just the account holder. Have a look at your debit card. Your name is in all caps. That's not you. Okay, that's the name of the corporation that's controlled by the Vatican. So people go, I can't get my money out. It was never yours to begin with. You're just the account holder. Sorry. So yeah, you don't want money in the bank. So I think I covered all that, didn't I?
Yeah. I have one question. I hope we can. I have another question because many people have in the moment real estate. And the real estate, as you said, in the capital, when you write it in the capital, your name is written in the capital letters, so it doesn't exist. It doesn't. You don't own it. And the interesting thing is, at the moment, that in November 2019, the German government has, let's say, they have changed a law, which was the war victim law. And the war victim law was the law in order to give funds for victims from the war, from the Second World War. Mm-hmm. And this law they have changed to a social, let's say, social compensation law. So now if there is a social compensation, for example, also vaccination damages can be paid by this law. And this is connected to a compensation trust law, so that all the people in the country have to pay, let's say, more than, if more than 5,000 euro, everything will be split 50-50. 50% will get the government. And if you have real estate, then the value, for example, will be taxed. They will show what the value is, and then you have mortgages for 30 years. Yeah. And this law will be activated in Germany on the 1st January 2024. And so we think that the compensations and the payments will so high that no one can hold or no one can pay this payment anymore because they are so high. And so all the property will go back to the government. Yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. Let me ask you though, whose law? The law of the corporation. Well, a corporation doesn't exist. It's a dead entity, it has no rights. So who? Can you give me a name of the person who's decreed the law? Question. If I have already if let's say I'm 60 years old, I have a house and I have all done this, and so I have the registrations. I have registered the house
Okay.
in the departments.
Okay.
And let's say I'm trapped in this way. Okay.
Not quite.
How can I get it out, and how can I say this is my house?
Were you given informed consent?
Okay.
Think about it. Were you given informed consent? When you filled the forms out and you sent it off, were you given informed consent of what you were doing? No.
No.
You know, when you filled all those forms out, was there a second signature included on the form? No. So who do you have a contract with? Nobody. Do you see how fragile the system is? Do you
Wow.
see? Yes, you have no contract with any of these people. You have written pieces of, you've probably signed on pieces of paper that just belong in a corporation, which is a dead entity with no rights. That corporation can't do anything because it's not alive. It doesn't exist. So you say, well, you know, there's a problem. Now, if a person from one of these agencies contacts you and says, right, we're here to do X, Y, Z, you'll turn around to that person and go, what's your name? What's your name? I got your name. Okay. Is your signature on this? Oh, it's not. Right. Well, you must be acting as an agent. So can you tell me the name of the principal that you're acting for? And can you give me the name of the principal who's claiming they've got a contract with me? Can't do it because that principal doesn't exist. That agent is in serious trouble because he's knocked on your front door trying to put a contract onto you that doesn't exist. Remember, a contract only exists with two signatures. It has to have your signature on it. Has to. And for someone to impose that contract onto you, it has to have theirs on it as well. If their signature is not on it, there is no contract. This is why the system is so fragile, because the average person thinks they've got contracts. And I go, who with? What? Yeah, who have you got a contract with? Give me his name. They can't do it. So if you don't know the name that you have a contract with, how do you know you're in a contract? You're not. You see, this is why the system is so fragile. It really is. It's a joke. When you understand how it works, you'll be laughing your head off. You go, oh my God. Because all these people, none of them want to take liability. They don't want to take responsibility. They have all been hiding behind corporations, legal fictions. So when you start putting pressure on them and go, who's the principal? They are in so much trouble. These people are going to quit their jobs. They're going to leg it. They don't want any part of this because the scam is over. It's like you were saying about, oh, this law, that law, this law. Well, wait a minute. None of what you mentioned is law in any way, shape or form. None of what you said was law. It's all legislation. They're all contracts. They only apply to you if you say, yeah, okay, I will pay all that tax and I will hand my property over. If you've signed on the bottom line. If you did not sign on the bottom line, it doesn't apply to you. So when people wake up to that, people are doing things. It's like this mandate stuff. People are panicking over this mandate stuff. Why are you panicking over this mandate stuff? You can't be mandated. People email me all the time. We get inundated with emails, and I get the same thing. They keep saying, work is making me take the jib jab. And I go, what do you mean work? Work does not exist. It's a legal fiction. Can I have a conversation with work? No. Can I shake work's hand? No. Can I pull work into a court of law and cross-examine work? No, God, doesn't exist. So then I turn around and say, right, we know work does not exist. So who at work is mandating you to take the medical procedure? When enough people wake up to that and they become sovereign, this is the thing, you can't fake it. You can't fake it. You can't say I'm sovereign now and then turn around and say, the government's passed this law, so I've got to do as they say. No. Government doesn't exist. It's a legal fiction. I always say who, right? If I'm being told I've got to do something, I want to know that person's name. Give me the name of the person who says I have to do the thing. Give me the name. And that person knocking on that front door, if he can't give me the name of the person, i.e. the principal, then that agent who's knocking on my front door is liable. He's just made an invalid claim against me. He's making a claim that I have to do something, but he can't give me the name of the person where there's a contract. There's no contract. It's a scam. They've been doing it for decades, for centuries. So all this stuff that, legislation, here's the thing. Even in their system, their legal system, their laws have not even been proclaimed because no one wants to take liability for it. In their system, for something to be law, one of those politicians has to put their name to it. They have to proclaim it, which means they then say, I hereby proclaim that this is now law. They sign it, they date it. You need a date of when it was proclaimed. They don't want to do that because then they will be liable. So take a look at it. Ask, can you tell me who proclaimed this law? There's no one there. That's why the system's so fragile. It's all a bluff. It's all legal fictions. All of it. Government doesn't exist. It's a corporation. It does not exist. Corporation, dead entity. Corporation. When you wake up to that and just say, who is telling me to do this? And we all do this. Say 100,000 of us, 500,000 of us, 1 million, 550 million of us on this planet all turn around and say, who is saying I've got to do the thing? It's game over. Game over. So yes, I wouldn't play the legal system. Just demand who is saying this. No one wants to take liability for it, and they'll start running.
Brilliant. Thank you, Peter. It was really a pleasure. I pass to Jane. Well, thank you so much.
Anytime.
Cool.
Anytime.
That's the key, isn't it, Peter, for enough people to wake up to this and just to say no more. I've worked in the health field, and I've seen how they've used health, and people have been programmed to give away their sovereignty in health for 100, 200 years. So when this broke out, what do people do? They look to someone else for the answers, and the answer is mandates and jabs, right? And so we become a commodity. And when you wake to that you're no more than a commodity, it's kind of mind-blowing. Like you thought they cared, you thought that you were important, and that it couldn't be further from the truth. So I don't know, it's just incredible to hear you and to feel that power inside. I wondered if you could give us the basics on silver and gold, because that does sound like an important thing to be aware of.
Absolutely. Silver and gold. I mean, I don't give financial advice, obviously, and I don't teach. People can listen to me. And this is the thing about being sovereign, by the way. Be responsible for your own decisions. Be responsible for your own decisions. I have never taken advice from anybody. But when I've listened to things on like other podcasts, and I've listened to somebody like James Corbett or something like that, and I've gone, what? What's that he said? Let me go and look it up. What's this? Oh, blimey, he's right. So if I say something, don't take my word for it. Go and do your own due diligence and check it for yourself. But yes, the whole thing, the entire financial system was and still is to remove gold and silver from the people or the plebs. Okay, the people stuck in the plebtorial system. Just off topic a little bit, going back to the passport. If you check your passport, I think this works on all passports. I think it'll definitely work on the UK one, but there'll be a letter or denomination somewhere in there in one of the codes. It'll be either A, D, or P. So A is aristocrat, D is diplomat, and P is plebeian. So you're part of the plebs. You're part of the plebtorial system. So the idea, what these people at the very top, the Crown Corporation, is they want to strip us of true money, which is gold and silver, which is what they've done. No one uses it anymore. Okay, we use bits of paper. Some people say that the notes we use are promissory notes. They used to be. They're not even that. They're just pieces of colored plastic with no value. So they've managed to take all the gold. Take a look at Vatican and the royal family. You'll see the gold dripping everywhere. The Pope sitting on a throne made of gold. It's worth $20 million and all the rest of it. Okay, they want the gold. They have been using gold for centuries now, and what they tend to do is they steal the gold from everybody. While they steal the gold, they devalue the gold, make it worthless or virtually worthless, so no one wants it. You plebs, you don't want any of this gold, right? It's cheap. It's just an old relic, okay? Then all the plebs find it too difficult to make ends meet because of wage compression that's caused by inflation. So they get into debt. So everyone borrows. So they're borrowing to buy houses and cars and student loans and all the rest of it. So they keep borrowing and borrowing. By the way, none of that is actually true debt. It's all credits. You own credit that is now being sold back to you as debt. So there is no debt. It's another fake thing. So anyway, these people got all this debt. When the system gets so bloated with all this debt and no one can actually pay it back anymore, they orchestrate a crash. The stock market will crash. Although this time, I think it's going to be a currency crash. So the market is going to crash upwards, not downwards. So if you look at the stock market of Venezuela, for example, that is the best performing stock market ever because it goes straight up. And the reason is because their currency completely crashed. So it looks great. That's happening right now, by the way, in real time. So you look at the main stock market, Dow Jones and all that, that stock market's going up. The only reason it's going up is because the dollar's being devalued at around 15% per year. Okay. So when the weight of all this debt is so big, and all the elites, if you like, or the people, parasites have got all this gold, which is very low value. They smash the system, wipes out everybody. They steal all the wealth. Gold goes ballistic. And then the people who know how this scam works are sitting pretty because they've got all the wealth, this wealth transfer. So if you know that's coming, if you know that fiat currency is being devalued at least 15% per annum, then you should not be holding your savings in fiat. And you should get yourself some gold, silver, get a good selection, a few denominations, different coins. You know, I like silver coins. Silver coins, by the way, you can use them on the black market because of the silver. And you can still spend them in shops because they're actually legal tender. People don't understand that because this is actually a Britannia. It's actually got the Queen on it. There you go. Okay. That's legal tender in this country. So I can go into Tesco's, order a load of shopping, put it into my trolley and pay with this. And if they don't take it, and I say 3 times, here, I want to pay, I want to pay, I want to pay. And each time they say, no, we don't want to take it, I just walk out the shopping then. All right, it's mine, it's free. I offered to pay. This is legal tender. You've refused. I mean, that's going to be a good trick. You know all these companies that no longer take cash? go in with a silver coin. Say, I want to pay. Film yourself. Film yourself. Here, I want to pay with a silver coin. If they say, no, we don't take cash or whatever, 3 times. Okay, I've offered to pay. I'm now taking it. It's free now. People don't know how this works. But yeah, gold and silver is a good idea. Get a bit of crypto if you want a bit of a dab, you know, a bit of a gamble if you like, you know, because I think crypto is going to go ballistic as well. I think Bitcoin and that. But I think some of these cryptos are, most of them are like Trojan horses as well. You've got to be very, very careful. The government wants us in the crypto, by the way. So, and a lot of people say, oh, some of these cryptos, yeah, they are untraceable. I think Monero is one, I think, that people, oh, you can't track it and all the rest of it. The government doesn't care about the actual crypto itself because they're going to be tracking your devices. You can't use crypto without internet, without a device. We all know that this is full of spyware, bloatware. They know exactly what I'm doing. Microsoft 10's got a keylogger in it. You know, so if you're going to use the internet, if you're going to use a device, then the government will know you've just done a transaction in a crypto. And you think, well, I'm only going to deal, say I get a Freedom phone, I get, you know, and I use my own, I'll set up a clever sort of internet thing. Yeah, well, what happens if you trade with a pleb on the street and he's got a normal device? The government now knows that transactions happen. So, yeah, these cryptos have some, but I don't think they're going to be very good in the future.
Yeah, that's what makes me suspicious of it, right? Because they can control it at some point and knock it all out, which is they want us non-sovereign. So,
Correct.
yeah. So you're saying, like, I've always questioned having hard gold and silver because, like you say, what if they don't accept it, or what if I have like a gold bar and they don't have change or any way of, but so to have silver coins is probably the easiest way to Yeah.
Queen's head on it. It's legal tender. It's it. You know. Remember, the word legal, by the way, means contract. Okay, so you will only hear the word legal or illegal within a contract. It does not mean lawful or unlawful. So when I say legal tender, it means that this is legal tender in the casino of the UK corporation. Think of it like a token. You know, when you go to Las Vegas and you get poker chips. Well, that poker chip only has value in that casino. If you take it to another one, they won't recognize it. Okay, so when I say legal tender, yes, this has intrinsic value because it's silver, but it's also a poker chip in their system. But yeah, I mean, the thing is within the black market, that's all they'll want. They'll only want gold and silver. They don't want fiat. If they go cashless. But the thing is I don't even know if they can do it, this cashless thing, because there's people out there that are already starting up their own internal local economies. It's happening already. And one of the things that the Sovereign Project wants to do is actually create a golden note. There's now a technology where you can do a real note made out of real gold. No third-party risk. It's only, there are only a few dollars to make, and it's like laminated. It's like a gold leaf, and it's like laminated, right? So for a few dollars, that's what they're worth. People could use them. I think there's I think Utah, uses them. There's a town in Utah, and they use these. They use the gold. I think it's called goldbacks. It might be worth looking into that. Called goldbacks. Okay, so check that out. And they use it alongside the American dollar. So some of the shops in that place, they'll go, okay, we'll accept the dollar, but we also accept we'll accept the gold back. So that would open up local economies. And the thing is, get networked. That's what I do. That's what I'm doing. I've got my little local economy here where I live. I've got getting on for 400 people now. So we're all going to trade between ourselves. So it's happening. And then as people realize, as this financial crash comes in, and they're going to find it almost impossible to make ends meet, they're going to look at us, the sovereigns, saying, well, we don't have a problem. We've already paid our electricity once. We're not paying it twice. We don't have to pay council tax because there's no contract between me and the council. And then if the interest rates go up and the mortgage companies want paying off, I say, well, hang on a minute, I'm going to challenge the mortgage company and I say, who do I actually have a contract with? And then I'll challenge the mortgage company, say, well, I don't actually have a mortgage, but if you had one, and then I'll say, is there any other creditors that I should know about within this mortgage contract that I've got? They're going to start panicking because their scam is going to be uncovered. It's knowledge. Get the knowledge out there. When enough people know, it will collapse. It's the house of cards is going to collapse. All of it. Hopefully.
Yeah, and then we have to have a way to rebuild.
Yeah, we'll be good to go. We've already rebuilt. We're good to go. We'll have our gold and silver. We'll know. So we'll just trade straight away. But, it'll just take probably 18 months, 2 years, and we'll be good to go.
Right. So to develop, trading within local, like people that that you can trade commodities with and just get started on that would be an important first move. Yes. And also, I'm actually working with another group called the Burnt Wood Freedom Networks. If I show that up there like that, Burnt Wood Freedom Network. And what they're trying to do is here in England, they're trying to set up a network across the country of food, organic food. So they're trying to put that together, and I've said I'll help with that as well. So once they've got a package together, I'm hoping they'll have a website, some sort of portal or something like that. And then you'll have a list of sovereign traders out there, and then you'll know who to trade with. So it's happening. Yeah, that's brilliant. It's happening. So yeah, yeah. So to get involved with that, I'm going to be looking for what I can do in North America. I'm going to pass you back to Roy. I think he's burning to ask one more question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, we said we tried to keep it at the hour and a half. We have another 10 minutes if it's okay with you, Pete. So one of the things that I see is like there's the property tax and everything and the bills that we paid. Now I see gas bills going through the roof and the electricity in Poland. The commercial has gone up 800%, and it's about doubled for residential, and like bills have been paid. You might talk about that because I think you could help a lot of people on that.
Okay, right. Let me try and get this message out to people. Your electricity, your gas, your water has already been paid for using the trust. Your live certificate of birth was used to create the credit to actually pay for all this. You've paid it once. This is why when you deal with these corporations, they call it repayments, because you're paying a second time. It's all in the language. So what they're actually doing, all these gas companies, water companies, if you like, they are brokers. They don't supply anything. What they've done is they've bought the debt from the Treasury. So, because the Treasury is on the hook. You're the creditor, the Treasury is the debtor. The Treasury sells this debt. So these brokers masquerade as electric companies. And what they're doing is they're charging you clicks on the meter. That's it. Now, that meter that's in your property will not be yours. It will not be owned by you. It will actually be probably owned, in this country, it's the national grid, owned by the government. Layman's terms, okay? It's a corporation that owns that meter. That meter is leased to the broker who is sending you the fake bill, okay? That's how they do it. So what you need to do is if you remove the meter, you put your own, and then you tell the national grid or the corporation that owns it, come and collect it. I no longer require your private property to be on my premises. I now have my own meter. And then you can cancel your contract with the broker, with your electric company, with your gas company. Clear the debt. Although it's not a debt, it might not be a debt. If you've been dealing with an electric company and you say £400 or £500 in debt, just clear it off. Have it at zero and say, right, I've now zeroed it. I am now terminating the agreement. All right, because I am no longer wishing to trade with you. The balance is zero. I will no longer trade with you. I've cancelled my direct debits. That's the end of it. Change your meters. You put your own meters in place, and then no one can do anything. Now, it won't be
just on that, because like I know people that have done it, so I know what you're saying is actually true. I know people that have done it. There's people fair because, you know, when they're installing these meters, they put a little tag on it that if you break this seal, you have interfered with, or like, how do they get around that? Do you have to get an authorized gas installer or authorized electrician to actually remove their one and install your own? What's the way to actually do it?
Yes. The best way to do it is to actually get a qualified electrician or qualified gas fitter to do the job for you. One of the things that these people, and I use the quote, they in quotes, okay, they in quotes, these people or they within these brokers, these electric companies, what they'll try and do is they'll say, because we don't know who fitted your meter, there could be a safety issue. And then they'll say, we're going to have to get a warrant from the courts, which is fake. It's not a real warrant because no judge wants to sign off on this. It's another fake warrant. They'll get a warrant from the courts and they'll try and gain entry into your property and then forcibly swap the meters back. But if you've actually got the two certificates to say it was done by a professional and they are both safe, when that person knocks on the door saying we've got a warrant here to swap the meters because we think it's unsafe, the first thing you do is get that person's name, full name, everything, because he's going to be paying out. Because the next thing you do is you say, right, here's my two safety certificates. Now what you're going to do? Now you're trying to enter into my private property with a fake warrant. You're in my jurisdiction. You have just stepped into the wrong dominion. You're done. This is going to cost you $50,000. All right, but you've got to know how this works. You've got to be able to. You've got to learn how to read. You've got to learn how warrants work. You've got to be able to spot a fake warrant. It's quite easy. A fake warrant will not be written in English. It'll be boxed. It'll be all caps. There'll be no signature of a judge on it. You know straight away that's fake. And if there's a case number, phone the local court. See if there is actually a case number. And you'll probably find it's not. There's not even a case number. So then you'll say to the person who says, you do realize what you're doing is you're masquerading as someone from the court. You are issuing a fraudulent fake warrant at my property. I've got it on camera. I've recorded it. That's 7 years imprisonment. You just got to know how the system works. And you got to stand your ground. You got to know it. You can't fake it. You got to know it. But yes, that's the easiest way. Clear the debt. Clear the debt. Give 30 days notice. Terminate. Make sure you've got no debts with that broker. You paid it. Swap the meters. Contact the company who owns the meter and start charging them £100 a day until they remove it from your property. Because it's their property. You should charge rent because it's their property on your private property. Storage fees, £100 a day until you get rid of these meters. I don't want them anymore. Then you have your health, your certificates done to prove that your meters are safe, and that's it. You should also, some people are saying, can I just take the meter out and then just wire it up? No, you then could be charged with stealing electricity. See, the way it works is if you fit your own meter, remember, I never refuse anything. Mine's a offer declined, always offer declined, you see. So if I fit my own meter and I'm getting some some flack from an electric company saying, oh, well, we need a meter, I'll say, well, okay, I will lease you my meter, £100 a day. I'll give you the meter readings off my meter. It's £100 a day, though. They don't want any of that because electricity is not going to be £100 a day. But my fee is for using my meter. And again, we're dealing with corporations. All of these electric companies, fake corporations, dead entities with no rights. So you've got to put it on the blame. You've got to put the responsibility and the liability on a living, breathing man or woman who works for these corporations. The guy knocking on your front door, the guy who's sending you documents. By the way, if you get a letter from an electric company saying we're going to change the meters, it's not signed, you send it back. I can't respond to this. There's no signature. Oh, by the way, I'm charging you 500 quid for sending this back. So you've got to learn how this works.
Excellent. Listen, I love it. And I think you've given so many tips and tricks today, especially for people new to it. And you do it in such a way that it makes so much sense because there's a lot of people bamboozling people and they're charging thousands and thousands. And I've seen it, they're leading them up the wrong path. But I love to see somebody like yourself, what you're doing. I know you're passionate and what you're doing. So what's going on? How can people kind of get involved? I know we've got the Sovereign Project .live is being shown since we started. Is there anything else you'd like to?
That'd be great. Yeah. I mean, if anyone wants to get involved, there's the website. There's free documents on there. Okay. So you can log on, you can download it. All these documents that you can download, this is the stuff that I've collected. I've been studying this for over 10 years. So I was like working this out and I went, oh, that's good. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know, is that how course work? Oh, lovely. I'm writing all this down. So basically all this information I've collected over 10 years, right? I've put it into easy to read documents, download it, read it. If it's useful to you, great. If it's not, fine. Not a problem. If you want to get involved, we've got 2 emails there. If you want to do collaboration, podcasts, that sort of thing, there's an email for collaborations. You can contact us through that. We have general inquiries as well. But please, what we're finding is people are contacting us with their problems and then saying, how do I get out of it? Like, oh, I've got bailiffs coming next week. What do I do? And I'm going, we can't deal with that. We just don't have the manpower. That's going to take months of work to create a remedy for you. So please don't contact us with the problems. We don't have the manpower to solve all your issues. But if you'd like to learn this, if you want to open your own sovereign project in your local area, okay, like a workshop. I hold a workshop once a week where over 100 people gather and I go through all this. So if you'd like to do that, get in contact, put your name on the list. We're going to put something together. We are working on Zooms. We're going to put an online course. We're going to do that when we figure out the technicals. But yeah, start with the website, share the website, get involved.
Excellent. Listen, Peter, really appreciate the conversation. Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank my fellow podcasters as well for their interesting questions. Very, very enjoyable. So I just like all the listeners, we've had some nice comments as well. We weren't able to cover them all, but look, we'll be looking through them anyway. And be sure to give us a thumbs up, share with your friends, because this is all important. And any comments that you give in our different podcasts, we always try to engage as well. So until next week, take care.